Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Coach Fleischer, Kinesiology 214, and this is a presentation to prep for the lab on small apparatus. So without further ado, let's get going. So small apparatus, if you think about it, you have in the gym dumbbells, barbells, etc., but you also have medicine balls, kettlebells, physio balls, BOSU, straps, bands, TRX straps, half foam rollers, RX foam mats, all different kinds of stuff that you use outside of the traditional equipment you see, like a strength training equipment that's used in the gym. That could be selectorized equipment, free weights, including dumbbells or barbells. And you use small apparatus as a way to increase the degree of difficulty in your workouts and ways to layer in additional challenges that might not be normally seen in using a barbell or a dumbbell. And you can use these different modalities together, and small apparatus can be used together to create different challenges and different ways to challenge your clients. So what are different examples of this? Oh my goodness, there are so many. The RX foam mat in the corner over here, the half foam roller, these are called sand bells. The ballast inside is full of sand, so it shifts when you use it. This is called a tidal tank. Put me over here. Tidal tank, you place water in it, and as you move the tidal tank around, the water shifts, and as the ballast shifts, it creates a response in the body. Kettlebells are pretty common in the gym now. I like them a lot. I think they're great for functional training. I use them as a way to integrate in more Olympic and explosive style training without having to do a clean or a snatch type movement. Now, one that I really like, and I'm actually on board to buy one of these here, is this Strap 3D up here on the top. I'm going to let this play. I'm going to talk over it while it's doing its thing. It's got a disclaimer. We don't need that. But the strap itself, if I can just wind this back a hair, notice he wraps it around his shoulder and around the waist. And he's just going to do a hip hinge with that piece of equipment. So think of where the resistance is being offered by the free motion cable crossover behind here, and how the resistance is being offered by wrapping around his body up around his shoulder. He'll progress from this as a basic exercise to a little bit more advanced type stuff. There's your hip hinge without using a PVC pipe. And now I'll just let this play in. What I like about this is he transitions it into the next exercise where he's doing hip hinge with rotation, and notice where the resistance is coming. It's coming from, it's being offered from behind him. And now he's doing a rotational exercise. You can just imagine being a shot put, discus thrower, tennis player, perhaps you're a golfer to a certain degree, wouldn't do as much of a squat with a golf type movement, but that'd be more like an individual who would be in field events in track and field. I'm going to let him do one more variation here. So here we got the hip rotation and then a rotation drive. That's kind of the follow through component you see in a golf swing. If I can get just one more here. Yeah, I think you'll like this because this will juxtaposition. And so notice how he has it wrapped around, and the resistance is now coming from his right side, not behind him anymore. And see how the resistance is being offered differently. It's going to affect the musculature in the midsection differently. So here's a kind of an important part about using cable crossover equipment. We'll get into this when we get into more selectorized equipment. Where you position yourself relative to the equipment matters. It's going to dictate how that resistance feels. This positioning, by having the resistance being offered lateral, will feel different than if the resistance was offered from behind him, like it was in the original exercise that you saw. And we'll let this kind of play out a little bit more. This man's doing a lot of rotation here. Split squat variations, let's jump over. Mouse is not working. There we go. So still lateral resistance being offered. That's your vector. That's where the resistance is coming from. And he's doing a squat lunge position as he's doing this. Now I hope he switches legs here because you'd like to work both legs, one on the medial side of one leg and one on the posterior side, the lateral side of the other. Now he's doing a reverse lunge. So do yourself a favor though, maybe check out this site, this whatsthatstrap.com. I'm pretty keen on buying one of these things. It's not that much, and I'll be jumping all over this with my clients. So if we jump into other examples, medicine balls, like I mentioned, Bosu, that's this bubbly kind of like half medicine ball looking thing. Uh, Exercise bands, whether it's the extra cuffs that Spry provides or Spry tubing. They're out of Mundelein, if I remember correctly. Local company, great company to work with. And they have different types of tubing that you can purchase to work with your clients differently. Now, I got to move me out of the way so you can read this a little bit better. You have 3 videos up top, and the implement being used is a medicine ball. Far and away, that's it, just a medicine ball. But notice we put the person in a position where they're kneeling, so we've taken away part of the kinetic chain, part of the musculature they can use. So in this first example, this is going to be all sagittal plane, meaning it's going to be right in front of the body, right up and right back down. The second example you see here, this will be no longer sagittal plane, it'll be a cross body movement over the left shoulder, down by the right hip, and in this case, it'll be down by the left knee because I'm kneeling, so down by the left knee, up over the right shoulder for that medicine ball position. More strength oriented. When we go over here to the right, crossbody wood chop dynamic, that's going to be more power oriented. Think back to what we talked about strength versus power. We're not unloading on the wall in this one, so it's more strength oriented. This one, because there's this quick twitch kind of like explosiveness, it's power oriented. So let's take a look at what we got here with this. So this movement pattern, all sagittal plane, front of the body, boom, boom, knees over top. Now we come over here, let this guy play, cross body, right? By the knee up over the shoulder, by the knee up over the opposite shoulder, cross body movement pattern. If we go ahead and then bring this guy to the party, notice what happens. We go from the left knee up over the right shoulder. Snap. And snapping that ball down. And much like our golf swing from before that we talked about, that movement is initiated in here, guys. We go from an extended position in the hip to where we hinge the hip and rotate the hip towards the wall at the same time, poof, to throw that medicine ball. So it's more power oriented. So some other examples, let me tap through this. TRX is another great example of small apparatus that really gained traction in the fitness industry. It's simple, it's very easy to use. There are certification courses you can take, and it's pretty darn intuitive. So instead of doing a regular push-up on the floor, to increase the degree of difficulty, you force the participant to be isolateral on this. They're using both sides independently because the strap itself ties off in a position up top, as opposed to like a barbell where you do a chest press. Notice a little bit of wobble. You can kind of make out that wobble in the black straps on the side here. And so what's important to note is with a cable crossover that I mentioned earlier, location is key. How you position your client relative to the equipment and where the resistance is being offered matters. But with TRX, this is tied off on a fixed point. Where you position your client matters, and how much of a lean the person has matters. So to make this a smooth analogy, if I had to do push-ups against the wall versus push-ups against the push-ups against the floor are going to be much more challenging than push-ups against the wall. The more upright you are using TRX, the easier it is. If, for example, this individual had their toes on the stacked blocks behind them, and they were doing push-ups on TRX in a almost prone position, that's going to be exponentially more challenging. Now we go TRX row over here. And here we go, row, 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 just like a regular old row. Same idea, positioning of my feet matters. Now what makes a difference with TRX is there is a coefficient of friction, right? So your foot position matters because the further you put your feet out in front or behind you, depending upon the exercise, you'll have less and less traction on your feet. So you have to be very aware of the traction that your clients have so their feet don't go sliding out from underneath them. Just a little tip of the day for you. So let's go ahead and scroll this out. You'll notice both those were sagittal plane, and you can do TRX, where you do row and rotate, and you rotate the torso, or you do some things in frontal plane. I'll actually throw in a couple more exercises for you to follow along, and you'll see those on the lab component on Blackboard. So exercise bands, a couple straightforward ones, right, are these, where it's just standing on one foot, going out and up, out and up, and all you're working is shoulder. This is one of my favorite exercises where the participant stands on one foot, the resistance is being offered. In this case, I'm standing on my right foot and the resistance is being offered to my left, and I'm rotating against that resistance. So now here's one of the things you have to keep in mind. With bands, bands don't understand gravity, right? The further you stretch them, the more resistance they offer. But you could literally stand on your head and do this exercise and still get the same result. To a certain degree. Granted, gravity wants to pull the arm down, so you have some weight from your arm that you have to work against gravity, and you have to work against gravity to raise the arm. But in general, looking at bands, they don't understand gravity, so you can use them pretty much in any environment, in any situation. So let's look at this one right here and kind of process what's going on here. I'm rotating out, and if you look at this band, it's being offered in transverse plane. And I'm rotating and getting some torque across the knee joint, across the ankle, and across the hip. I'm trying to keep my nose in line with my hands the whole time. So when I have people who come in and say, I'm going skiing in Aspen, I need to work on my knees, I don't put them customarily on a leg extension or leg curl and do sagittal plane movements, because they don't go whoosh straight down the mountain. They actually traverse back and forth and are creating torque across their knee and ankle and hip joints, all the while having long sticks on the bottom of their feet. So I want people to do these kind of exercises where they work on torque, and also I want them to get comfortable in terms of edging. There's a weight transfer on this exercise as you rotate that band, where you have to be a little bit heavy on the big toe, and then you're going back more to neutral, and you get heavy on the first metatarsal, technical term, metatarsal, and then back to here, because the band is stretching and the resistance wants to pull you to the left, and you have to fire the musculature, but you have to get heavy on the inside edge of the foot, which is analogous to when you're skiing and you're cutting and traversing back and forth. You have a weight displacement on the ski from the inside edge to the outside edge, depending upon what foot and depending on which way you're turning. So this is very practical for people who are skiers. And let me just pump this out. So with small apparatus, it's limitless. Oh my goodness, you could do so many different things with small apparatus. You can replicate just about any particular exercise in the gym on small apparatus. And I urge you to use caution though, because I've seen so many people who try to create the newest and coolest exercise, and it looks like basically a carnival when they're working out with their client. And there has to be some purpose to what you're trying to do with your clients, and it has to be prudent. You know what I mean? So I often find that newer trainers tend to overcomplicate exercises without any purpose. So think through what you're trying to do, and you can do an entire workout with small apparatus, but normally I incorporate in small apparatus in small tastings, so people can actually work on different stuff in the context of a traditional strength training program. And for the lab assignment, what I'm having you guys do on this is you're going to be assigned a body part, one of the main body parts, and particularly an exercise from one of those body parts, and you'll be required to shoot a video of yourself using small apparatus. So for example, if it's a dumbbell bicep curl, you'll have to figure out a way to use small apparatus of some variety to create a variation to that workout. You'll shoot a video of yourself, 10 seconds, and I hope we get the functionality right, but I'm looking for you to post that on Blackboard for the post and response segment of the course. And then also you'll have a regular lab assignment as found on Blackboard. So with that, guys, I'm signing off. Hope that helps, but realize we'll dig more into this during lab time in the class as well. Thanks, guys. Bye.